Good evening. Welcome to the Sami Parvez show. We are joined by our friend Danwan Ekstrom from beautiful Alberta. How are you doing, Danwan?
I'm doing well, Sammy. It's currently in beautiful Grand Prairie, Alberta. It's -5 and it is a 90-kilometer gusts of wind.
Wow,
And so it is scary outside, which is kind of exciting. But it's fine, it's sort of keeping busy. I'm at the school right now, so kind of working on some stuff, marking, getting stuff caught up because we've got our
mm,
exams. Semester's almost done.
wow,
I'm probably going to
good.
be here till probably about 9:30 and
Wow.
then head on back home. Hopefully, with the weather getting a little bit nicer, but I doubt it.
hmm
How are you doing?
I'm doing fine so far.
That's
Other than like last yesterday incident which I described on X.
I know
So
I saw that, and then you tagged me being like, we need to talk about this, and I was
yeah,
like, Sammy, I will go to bat for you. I am your soldier, and we are fighting
exactly,
great battles, Sammy. And I
hmm
think that I will to fight for you to the end. So let's
thank
get
you.
cracking. Sammy, tell
Mm-hmm.
people what happened. I don't even know what happened.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so see, like I was driving, so I work as a security guard. So I was dispatched to Hamilton. So I was traveling, like like for you for the crossing, like it means it is two sides road. But if there is no like vehicle is coming on the opposite side, so you can cross where the it is allowed like with dot lines with yellow, so you can cross. Like I crossed the vehicle, like when it was safe. It does not mean I was crazy, but for crossing in like a vehicle, you go over speed, like to go above the speed on the other driver. Even though a driver was driving, the speed limit was 80, maybe she was traveling with 60. I don't know, like if that is, I don't think that was the lady who caught me, but like then I stopped for checking my map somewhere, like on sideways or whatever you call it, like I part, but I was leaving. So suddenly a government official on Ontario, where the logo was like logo was there, Ontario, and she just indicated me a stop. I stopped. She came to me, oh, you are driving recklessly, you should not have a driving lesson. I'm going to complain to your company. I said, please don't complain, I just got this job, and I have over uh, uh, I have been unemployed for a year. She did not care about what, but she asked my name. Like I was very polite. I did not know who the hell are you. Like I was thinking to get my job done. Like I have been dispatched. I need to go there to arrive. So I did not care about much about her. But later I thought why I did not ask her name. But she noted my name, and also she noted my driving no, not driving lesson, but company number, company vehicle number plate. And she said she will call. I said do whatever. In my mind I thought, what, do whatever you want, like. And she was also wearing a a sweater. I don't know, but it was also Ontario government, Ontario logo was there. But I did not know, like when I googled it when I came back home. So then I left, I did my work. When I went that place, so there was a break in. There was not a break in, but it means someone broke the glass of window. Then police were there, so that is another topic, so we will leave it here. So this thing happened. Then when I finished my work, so I was returning, so I received a call from a supervisor that we received a, like it means my direct supervisor received a call from someone to complain about your driving, so be very careful. I said okay, because I knew like who did it, like. So then I was thinking who the hell she was. So I came at home and I started searching, like which government official is vehicle beside law enforcement agencies. So I came to conclusion, I think it is a animal welfare agency. I don't know like what is called, but they have those vehicle, like I remember she was having a SUV white, and Ontario logo was there. And also on the top, like there would be for police, like there is light that is different, but this one is like a yellow light, like. But then I googled it, I found those not is exactly the same vehicle, but it was type of. Then I knew that she was from anyone animal welfare. So I was about to write an email to the transportation minister, like I just like started. I said, what the hell are you people doing? Your government official should do their job to stop, like, like people don't give tests, just pay money and get their driving lesson. And people like, you remember like a few months ago, like I think a old man with his like grandchildren or children, they were killed, like in a crash, because someone stole a vehicle, then drove in a wrong way and crashed it. I need to know, where what the hell are you when that guy was driving? Why did not you catch him? Like, why such criminal are walking freely on the streets? Why don't you target them? But as I'm law abiding citizens, and but you are coming to target me, that I should get off the road and I should not have the driving license. I use, like back then when I was living in Saskatoon, I openly challenged Saskatoon police and Saskatchewan RCMP. If you ever get catch me with that I'm using my cell phone or distracting driving, I will give up my driving lesson voluntarily. Like, I'm not the guy that who is using his cell phone or chatting or texting or calling someone. Like, I don't attend the phone while I'm driving. Like, I'm very very careful when I'm driving. Like, I don't so you are calling me reckless because I did overspeed to overtake, or maybe, like just to cross, because the driver were below the limit. Like, I need to get my job done. So yeah, I openly challenge Waterloo region police, OPP, or RCMP, Ontario RCMP. Yeah, if you ever catch me with with texting and driving or drinking, like if I'm no, I don't smoke cannabis, neither I smoke cigarette, or I drink alcohol. If you ever catch me with any of them, like, I will voluntarily give up my driving lesson for lifetime, and I will donate whatever my car vehicle price is to a charity. This is the deal. Let's do it. And if you have guts, like go catch those terrible people who driving very recklessly, and those are stealing. Like air, no one is safe. Like there are in particularly in GTA, people like it means people losing their vehicle. They don't know how to make sure they should not be stolen. Where the hell are you to save them? Like every day you can hear a story with respect to someone uh did a crash. Like crash happen, like. But if someone is a very careful driver or qualified driver, they will do their best to avoid those crashes. That mean mostly crashes happen because of district driving. Like many folks are texting and driving, or in toxic, or whatever you call it, like drunk or something like that. Like, so I don't know, like why the hell you don't stop them, then stopping a law abiding citizen. What do you take from it?
Well, Sammy, I've met you, and I know that you're a reasonable guy. And I feel like if I was your lawyer, I would say this man is a hard worker, a generous individual, a
Hmm.
man that follows the law. How dare you? It wasn't even like, and you didn't get a ticket, right? It
No.
was just a lady
Mm.
yelling at you.
Yeah, she yelled at me and then she filed a complaint to my employer.
Well, I'm happy your employer took your side a bit, being like, "Hey, just a heads up, don't do." You're okay, good. Like, because that could have gone. They're not even thinking about it. Like Sammy, I've driven on the 401. I've driven in this. I've driven in Ontario. The rules are. It's pretty much like Mad Max out there.
Yeah.
It's as if we're in a post-apocalyptic wasteland. I've driven on the 401. People are going 180 on there and like nobody's getting pulled over. I the entire time that I drove in Ontario, I did not see a single person pulled over, and
Hmm.
that's on the and like the 401, and everybody is driving
Yeah.
30 a bike. I had to drive about 30 above the speed limit because if I
Yeah.
didn't, I
Other.
was going to be dangerous. Because
Yes. Yes.
heaven forbid, I follow the speed limit. So
Hmm.
no, I think that that's an unfair, unjust, and I think that that was uncalled for, unfair, unjust, and uncalled for my good friend Sammy Parvez, an incredible individual, Sammy Parvez,
Hmm.
getting shafted by this is it's absolutely reprehensible, Sammy, and I'm sorry that that happened. I'm glad that nothing really terrible came from it,
Hmm.
and I'm glad that you weren't like it wasn't like a an armed robbery and you had to like talk down. Though I would like to, like if you ever what for your thing, I'm just curious. So if there was like actively somebody in there breaking in, what would you do, Sammy? Tell me what you would you go in there and take out the perp?
So sorry, I did not catch you. Like if there was someone, what?
If there was some like if there was the break-in is happening and it's actively taking place, do you go in there with like a taser?
Mm. If I'm enough to save, it mean if someone lives in danger, so I will try to help them out. So if it is not about like if it is about the property damage, I will save myself.
Fair. And I think that's fair. You would then just report it and follow with the police and all that.
Yeah.
But if someone's life's in danger, this is the kind of person you are, Sammy. You're a hero. You're a hero. You're a
Thank you.
scholar. You're a gentleman. And yes, I think what happened was a travesty.
Yeah.
And I think that that is yes. And I think you have full right to be upset. Um, and but yeah, I think that that is absolutely awful, awful what happened to you, Sammy. And as a Albertan, I think that we need to stand up for your ability, your God-given right to
Thank you.
drive past people going slow.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know, like maybe I just cut her off. She got mad.
That might have been it,
Who knows?
honestly.
Like as you shared a story that back in someone you cut off someone or someone cut off you. Like you were mad. Like then the guy explained. Like if that was the case, you should tell me. Like I
No,
would
exactly.
probably.
There's a way that you can, yes, I told you about that. Like when somebody cut me off and I pulled up next to him and I was yelling at him. And then he
Yeah.
just like, hey, I'm sorry. And then I'm like, oh, okay. And it's like, I think it's like there's a difference. And I think that that's where it goes to. Just, she should have said, hey,
Mm.
heads up. You did cut me off. And then you go, oh, okay. The fact is that you pulled over to check your map. You're not somebody that texts and drives. You're a law-abiding citizen.
Yeah.
Like your story is proof of a good person, Sammy, and that it's just
Yeah.
awful that this
Mhm.
person tried to get you fired.
Yeah, she was willing to, like, but like I always believe on God. God gave me this job. I said if God is given, if he wants to, I have this job. That is well, it means that is okay. Otherwise, I may get another job. Like I have remained unemployed for a year. If like Donovan, If anyone does not know, I relied on a line of credit. I did not go on social services. I did not take a single penny from government. Like I did everything my own to get stable. And then now I got a job, so now I'm my own and just paying off my debt, and then we'll be good to go.
That's great. It's good to
Mhm.
hear, Sammy.
Yeah, and let's talk about government officials. So, do you think they are doing their jobs honestly and faithfully?
No, we've always talked about that, right,
Mhm.
Sammy? It's always yeah, and it seems to like corrupt those that have good intentions. There's something about those halls of government that your ability gets lost in it once you spend a bit of time in there, and all of a sudden you feel entitled to things. And well, it's like the New York mayor, Eric Adams. His lawyer said along the lines of, quote, government officials are supposed to get free things. It's not bad. And that's sort of that level of entitlement that unfortunately happens. So no, I think that no matter what, it sucks. You could be the best person ever, and then you just suddenly in those like 3 months later, your morals are gone, and then you're just it corrupts. The power corrupts, Sammy. So no, I don't think they do that too much there.
Hmm. Yeah, and like Los Angeles mayor was in Ghana, like for a trip, and Los Angeles was burning. What the hell are you doing? Like, and I believe the trip was paid by taxpayer. Taxpayer are like dying. Their houses are being burned. But what the hell are you doing? You are having a good trip, like our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau when Canadians are suffering. He was in Costa Rica, he was in Africa, sometimes he was in BC, while Canadians are like cannot like lining up at the food bank when you are billing more and more, like so what does it mean? Like you don't have any right, like no one give you authority. It means that you are misusing your authority. Okay, let me bring up you something. Like I think there was an incident like recently. um a police officer misuse her power to save his nephew. I don't know, like did you hear this one? I think it happened
No.
in Ontario in Gulf, I believe. So so that officer nephew was caught. Like I don't know, she was drinking or like, but she was involved in an incident. Then she was pulled over, like the officer arrived. But when so that officer
Mm.
a daughter called her mom that it mean that cousin is in trouble. So she dispatched someone to loyal to her, like an officer. So the officer went there and just let her to go within 10 minutes, like then it was revealed that it means that was unfair, but the officer got just a 9 month demotion, that is called. Yeah.
Right.
So 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 I don't know, like why the hell she was given a 9 month demotion. She should be terminated. And we have another Toronto police officer, black police, like a black police officer, because I need to mention it. And she used to support all the black or black, maybe non-white, it means non-privileged people, like to pass the test, like to help them out with the question and to get promotion. And what happened with her? And I think she was given just a demotion or what? Like people like them should be terminated. Why they still are living on taxpayer dollar? Like we don't need such people. Why the hell we have them? Like a government, like I know, like did you read Blacklock's reporter a report with respect to budget, like budget deadline, like which is 31st. Whatever you have to spend them, otherwise you would lose them. At the same day they would spend like hundreds of thousands of dollars just to buy whatever, though we don't need them, but let's spend them. Those are taxpayer money. Those are not your money, those are our money. whatever you are spending, we are going to pay them. Like either you are going to increase the GST, you are going to increase the PST, or whatever you want to. Like at the end of the day, you would do something, you would cut something else. Like maybe we would have short of doctors. Like we have short of law enforcement agencies, or something would be short. Or maybe you are not going to repair some roads. Like this is terrible. Like maybe more people would be lining up at the food bank, or relied on, I don't know, like where would go. Like like at one point you are going to increase the taxes to cover those spending. So this is not a way. Like it seems like you are not doing your job very faithfully. Like, so what do you think from it?
Well, I don't know anything about these police officers, but as I've often said that if there's any amount of corruption, that if anything, any of that ideas of like nepotism or whatever, and it happens a lot in the United States,
Yeah.
and they usually get like suspended with pay, and then they
Mhm.
come back or they'll lose their job. And then they
Yeah.
get hired in another police district, which is like you probably shouldn't have this person come back. I watch
Mm.
a lot of First Amendment channels that sort of talk about free speech in the United States, and there's
Yeah.
a lot of that example that for the Guelph where it's like, oh, this person was drunk driving, oh,
Mhm.
they're gonna get in trouble, and then they text mom, who's or dad or whoever, like the chief is, and then they
Yeah.
come in and then they stop it. But because and then the only reason, and then I think this also highlights a certain amount of need of good journalism,
Mhm.
because a lot of this is found out through actual like boots on the ground, local newspapers. You're not going to get it from your sort of big news
Mhm.
organizations unless it's something particularly juicy.
Yeah.
Um, Now, when it comes to the ideas of having the budget, yeah, that gets a little irksome
Mhm.
because you're right that it's like, well, if you're not going to need it, then you shouldn't have to. And you can usually tell what's suddenly like a wild expenditure when there's like 2 days before the budget's due,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden they drop $25,000. I
Yeah.
think you should have, if you're like the city budget commissioner or something, you should stop and say, okay, they probably didn't need that $25,000. Like there's logic
Mhm.
involved with it where you should stop and go, yeah, that's kind of crazy that they didn't spend this budget at all. And then the
Mhm.
very last day they bought a bunch of new desks. And you're
Mhm.
like, well, why didn't they buy those desks at the start of the budget? Or,
Yeah.
like there's things that you can kind of parse out a little bit that you should stop and go, we're probably going to cut this. This doesn't
Mhm.
make a lot of sense, and we can put it towards something that needs it.
Yeah.
But it seems like that would require a semblance of logic, which bureaucracy doesn't tend to have. They just sort of look at the ones and zeros and says, this is fine and dandy.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, you would expect there to be some logic, but unfortunately, that's just not the case
Mhm.
with that involved.
Yeah, we like until and unless like our elected officials are corrupt, so we should not expect anything from bureaucrats. Like no one can no one can hold them accountable. Like we have two Randy, like which Randy would the hell would do corruption. Like we have Mark Carney who is expected. I think he already may announced his
Yeah.
leadership. So his company received millions of dollars through a friend, like uh, Gerald Butt. His company where he's employed, his company received thousands of dollars. Anita Anand, I think husband received husband company received millions of dollars, and Mary Neg friend company received hundreds of billions of dollars. Many other like liberal insider received billions of millions of dollars during COVID. Like contract for making those medicines, or not medicines, those vaccines, or PPE, like other, like gloves, or something else,
Masks.
whatever that is
Yeah, yeah,
acquired. Like those all are taxpayers' money. Those money do not belong to these elected officials. That's why I always pray, like I cannot do anything, but I pray to the God Almighty that may he hold these all corrupt elected officials and politicians to accountable. I pray to God Almighty that may he bring his greatest curse upon them to make it a lesson for others, like people should their faith should be like this, that other people should take lesson from them, stop doing what they did, like I mean, like this is what I can do, like when we are helpless, like court. I don't know, like if I can afford to challenge it in the court, but otherwise I can just pray to the king of king, like who is the biggest justice. So maybe he does the justice for us, maybe not today, maybe on the doomsday, maybe near future, who knows.
It's the seeds have been planted though, Sammy, and you're speaking and yes, it's as the might they will fall, the
Mm-hmm.
false idols, just like when Moses went down from Mount Sinai the first time and saw all of the people celebrating around the
Mm.
golden bull and
Yeah.
losing sight of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's once again that's kind of what we just and then come back, and that's what we have to do. We have to break the proverbial first commandments and go back up and start getting pitter patter, get back at her. It's a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful, beautiful story of false idols, false worshiping, and all of that. Yes, indeedy, my friend, indeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like yeah, like Moses' story is like very powerful, the one you just shared, like there are lots of more stories like from great uh God messengers.
Oh yes, yes, and Sammy, I hope just like the prophet Obed-Edom that the ark is
Mm-hmm.
in your house
Mm-hmm.
and that you will be given plenty of glory and luck and may everything flourish your way as you get this job back, as said, just like
I mean,
Obed-Edom with the ark in his home.
yeah, I mean, yeah, thank
Amen.
you very much.
Amen, my friend.
Mm.
Amen.
I mean, thank you. Thank you very much for your best wishes and prayers and the support you are giving to me, like from day one until today, and every difficult time,
Every day.
you stand beside me. Like earlier you said, like if you would be my liar, so definitely you would definitely take them,
Oh yeah,
take those people down. Like in the court.
of course, Sammy. Of course.
Mhm. Okay, let's talk a little bit about Canadian federal politics. Trudeau gone. So like Mark Carney, did Mark Carney announced his?
He did indeed. He announced it at I think 1 p.m. my time, so
Mm,
3 p.m. Eastern. He
okay.
did his little spiel. I haven't seen it yet.
Mm-hmm,
I did sort of, but I was sort of monitoring it. People are saying he's not the greatest speaker. There's some work to be done,
mm-hmm,
but it's on. And there's a lot of rumblings that his presence has resulted in a bit of a jump for the Liberals in
mm-hmm,
terms of the
yeah,
polling. So,
yeah.
which I
Mm-hmm,
think makes sense because ostensibly he is the farthest. He's not, and I know that people say, and that's what the conservatives are saying. He's not an outsider. Like that's what the conservatives, and they're going to try to do, just like what Harper did with Ignatia, saying he didn't come back for you. The the conservatives are going to say Carney is an insider. They're going to try to do everything they can to paint him as a Trudeau best bud, best
mm-hmm,
friend.
mm-hmm,
However, to the average Canadian,
yeah,
Carney did leave for a while, and now
mm-hmm,
he's come back. People
yeah,
like him because he was the bank, the governor of the Bank of
yeah,
Canada during
mm,
Harper's time. And I
yeah.
think it'll help out. I don't think it's not, I still think it's going to be a pretty comfortable conservative majority, but I think Carney can stop the bleeding, and I think the liberals won't be annihilated if they go with him. So we'll see what happens. I'll be kind of excited, particularly when Freeland announces her running. Um, See what comes out of that too. Um, but yeah, what are your thoughts, Sammy? What have you been thinking about?
Yeah, like what you are saying about that like polls. Yeah, I heard like they now liberals are steady. Like the lead of conservative, it is not shrinking too much, but it is a little bit shrinking. Like maybe they don't enjoy end of the day when we go to the polls.
And
Yeah.
it is to be very fair here, when people say it's steady, it's still at like the bottom 19 like it's steady. It's
Hmm.
not going down. It's
Hmm.
still not good. I think that's the thing people need to be aware of there. When people say, it's steady, it's like, well, yeah, for being like a possible third party, it's steady. But it's better. I actually think it would be better for them to go with Carney than Freeland, um,
Yeah. Hmm.
because Freeland is so much more attached to Trudeau
Hmm.
over the past 9 year, I guess it'd be 6 years.
9 year, yeah,
Or
maybe 11, 12 years.
but like 6 years for getting like into the, I think since 2019 she was in that inner chamber. So it's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
majority of Trudeau's tenure. I think it's hard to shake that off.
Mhm.
So we'll see. But we're already starting to see the drama unfold too. With Randy Boissonneau saying, "I'm excited to get reelected in Edmonton Center," which is Carney wants to probably run in because it's the better chance of winning riding.
Mhm.
Um, Oh, it's getting nasty, and we're already having now more MPs coming forward endorsing Freeland,
Mhm.
MPs endorsing uh
Carney.
Carney. It's but none of like the big heavy hitters have done it yet, and that's gonna be where it gets interesting.
Mhm.
Which of the cabinet ministers are going to endorse who? Is there going to be a split down the middle?
Mhm.
Like it's a very thrilling for what is essentially going to be a Kim Campbell leader. They're going to get annihilated. But
Mhm.
who's going to do it? Who's going to be there? I don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm
Mm.
excited.
Yeah, like yeah, the what as you said, like Mark Carney would be only person who would be outsider, but rest of them are with Justin Trudeau. Like though this is Chrystia Freeland, who will announce, like I think his leadership
Pretty soon.
uh, this week. And Karina Gold, another House leader, currently she is also maybe expected to announce her leadership. I don't know like when, maybe this a Sunday or whatever day it would be. And you so that would be another candidate. But as Donovan said, I agree with him that Mark Carney would be the solid candidate for Liberal to may change the things. Like maybe cannot win or form a government, but maybe like they will keep their party status in the House of Commons. Maybe they would have a chance to form a official opposition. Like unlike if Trudeau remained, so we would not be here. Things got worse.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, I said it'll be cool to see also how this like whole thing will go down. Like, is it going to be a smooth leadership race? Because all
Mm,
it's going to take is like a handful of people saying, I'm not a I don't live in Canada and I voted, right?
mm,
Like, how are they going to be on top of that is also
yeah.
kind of interesting. Because really, anybody can sign up as a liberal. And then
Hmm.
you can just probably pick a random address. Like, how are you going to verify that? Like, right now, as a teacher, we're in bargaining, and in order for us to be able to vote, our address has to be verified.
Hmm.
So they have to send like a letter and then we respond back or take a picture and say, yes, it's got to me and it's attached to my email. Like there's all these things in place to make sure that we're not stuffing ballots. I don't know how you can do that you don't have the infrastructure in a month. like like a month and
Yeah.
a half is going to be the vote. Like I don't know
Mhm.
how it's going to go, and also I don't know where that $350,000 is going to go that everyone's paying to do this. Like is this also like it seems strange. This whole thing seems like a weird money laundering scheme, Sammy.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, like it would be interesting. Yeah, they don't need you don't need to pay anything for membership, right?
No, it's you just say I'm a member. And you go to the liberal website and you say register and then you put your name and like I think it was just email address.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but now it's like, but they're saying you have to be a Canadian citizen. I'm like, how are you going to verify that? Like, you don't have the infrastructure for it. This
Mhm.
is going to be voted on literally in like 40 days. like in like 40 days, they're going to prep the vote. And you're like, I'm like, I don't know. All it's going to take is some people from Belgium being like, I voted for the liberal leader and I'm not Canadian. And then, well, the doubts set in for that, right? And I could see the conservatives really pushing something like that. If I was Pierre Poilievre, I would sort of, you don't want to say it because it's technically like foreign interference, but you might want to just gently, subtly push Americans to vote for those folks and then the doubt sets in, right? And I think that's something to be aware of if you're a liberal.
Hmm. And also, like, um, what I was thinking. Um, but this Mark Carney is a dual citizen, right?
Correct. I think yes. I think he
He's
has like I think he has like four citizenships actually. Like he has a lot of
British,
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 Canadian,
Indian,
and
American.
maybe I'd have to look it up. But he does have a fair amount, which also rings that Ignatieff feel. And I think if and the conservatives are all, it is like a full-on attack on
Hmm.
Carney right now, being like he is an outsider. It's very reminiscent of what happened to Ignatieff. Um, so is that, and yeah, we can sit down and talk about the polling jump, maybe a little bit of a bump, but like that very easily can just crater again. And that happens quite a lot for leaders. It happened with John Turner when
Hmm.
he got in 79, or not 79, in 83.
Hmm.
Um, he got in, and because the polls had collapsed with Pierre Elliott Trudeau, very
Yep.
similar situation. And then John Turner got in and the polls jumped. And he said,
Yep.
well, let's get an election going. And then it collapsed immediately after. And so it's all just like it's all kind of a crapshoot, Sammy. Really.
Hmm.
That's the whole
Yeah, but
thing is.
but back in 2019, the dual citizenship for Andrew Scheer, it was a breaking news for media. Like they made it
Yeah.
uh, like critic issue, like why the hell our next prime minister would be a dual citizen.
Yeah.
But now there would be no issue with Mark Carney, right?
Well, we still have yet to see, of course, because he hasn't been chosen yet. We can
Hmm.
assume that we'd hope that there would be a similar pressure. So we
Hmm.
we don't know yet, Sammy. We don't
Hmm.
know yet because the sheer thing came up after he was chosen as leader. So I
Hmm.
think people will then hopefully start to do the pressure, but we'll see.
But whenever he would be chosen, the liberal leader would be chosen. That day, Justin Trudeau would resign as liberal leader and also prime minister.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it means if you becomes the if you become the leader of Liberal Party, you are the next prime minister of Canada. That's right. Yep.
Yeah, I think so. Though I think then the pressure would be on, and then the media would be like, okay, you renounced all of your other citizenships. You're a full Canadian citizen. Okay. Like I think that would be the next step. I would imagine something like that would be and if he says, I'm not going to renounce it, that would tank his polling numbers probably. If he's
Hmm.
like, because I think I would imagine the conservatives are also going to bang that drum, being like, he's all these citizens, and then Carney will say, I've renounced all my other citizenships. I am a Canadian citizen. You're like, okay. That might help a bit, but I don't know.
Yeah, and did Singh say that now he's going to work with Mark Carney to form a coalition government?
I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know. I was teaching all day, but all this fun stuff
No,
as
no,
I'm
not
busy.
today. Like I think there were some folks are talking on Twitter or X yesterday. I did not hear what Singh said, but they were saying something like they're suggesting maybe they are just saying whatever they want. But Singh already earlier said that is going to vote no to vote against the any upcoming leader of Liberal Party. Like maybe this is time for Jagmeet Singh to not play politics, put Canadians first. And also, like, let's talk about that leadership debate. Like they changed the rules. It seems like they just want to get rid of uh, this guy, Maxime
Bernier?
Bernier.
Yeah.
Okay, first poll. So there were no commission before 2018, right?
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But
Yeah, I think.
I did read that they have the rules are set in that you have to have a candidate. It's like you have to fulfill one of three requirements. One is you have an MP in the House, and that the other one is that you have to have 4% polling, and the other one is that you have a registered candidate in every riding. If you fulfill two of those three, you can go to the leadership debate.
Mhm. Yeah, I think this leadership commission was not like formed back in 2018. Like I think this is what because before either CBC did their own like and Globe and Mail or other news outlet. Like what happened in US particularly. So I didn't think those were from any commission. But it seems like when we have commission, these commission are appointed or created by government. Government is Liberal Party. Like the top person is Justin Trudeau. Don't you think it works like this?
Well, but like it's not the only thing is, Sammy, is that I have the thing is that this is still like a fumbling from Bernier. Like if Maxime Bernier wants to get on there, he should actually be doing a lot more campaigning. Like it seems like, right? Because you can hit 4%. In fact, I think the PPC are second in registered candidates across Canada, from what
Mm-hmm.
I read. I think Conservatives are first, PPC is second. So
Mm-hmm.
I think they can get the candidates, but like it just seems like what can you tell me? What has Bernier done in the last 2 years for campaigning?
Nothing.
And it seems outside of, and the only thing that I've really heard from Bernier is that, he bought a house in on an island or like on like a down south in the Caribbean, and you're like, is that's what you've done?
Mm-hmm.
That's the extent that people know of you. Like if you really sit down and you believe in it, you're going coast to coast to coast to coast, and you're pointing out the hypocrisy, and you're sitting down there with like some semblance of like of passion. And it just seems like I haven't heard Bernier outside of that house thing where people are like, where's my money donated to for PPC? I haven't seen any ad campaigns. Like it's I think they have the infrastructure, they have all the CAs to get a person in every riding. And it's
Mm-hmm.
just really now it's just the 4%. And I think if you actually gunned it, like I think there's a lot of folks, particularly now with this with the way that Polyev is kind of getting wishy-washy with Trump. Like he's not wanting to sit down and say anything exactly because he doesn't want to alienate those far right folks or
Mm-hmm.
more on like the more conservative folks. And I think that's if you're Bernie, you got to try to tackle that. But it just
Mm-hmm.
seems like he's not trying. And now he's going to try to complain about there being these rules in place. And I'm like, well, you
Yeah.
should probably try. Like I'm just
Mhm.
saying, it's not that hard. Well, what's the highest the PPC's ever pulled?
I think 6%.
Yeah, so it's like I think he can do it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, but he just seems like he doesn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know, like why Mark, like this Maxime Bernier is not serious about his party. Maybe You need to resign. People like us make and run.
Yeah. Yeah, so the
Like
PPC is saying the leaders debate is again trying to exclude Bernier, and you're like, but like the polling, like why would I want to listen? It'd be like me if I was the Rhino Party leader complaining that I'm not at the leader debate, or like it's like okay, like yeah, but you're not trying. Like it's
mm,
like it's insane. Like I think he would have a point if he was going back and forth and was building up some momentum and there were ad campaigns and he was doing lots of fundraising and they're making money.
mm,
I think you could sit down and maybe say, okay, we're not at 4% polling, but we have fundraised in the top for if we look at all the
mm.
fundraising, we're over 4% compared to all the other
Yep.
parties. So then I think then
Mm,
you could make an argument. But like it just seems like he hasn't done anything. And if I'm a PPC member, I don't want to donate money to a guy who's building a villa down in the Caribbean.
mm,
And it's like, what is he doing for work? Like, it doesn't make sense. And so it's like, I don't think it's necessarily an exclusion thing. I think it's just like, hey, we have these recommendations and conservatives will be there, bloc will be there. It's the same thing. It's just like, but your party's not doing anything. You're right. I think it's like there comes a point when you need to step back and say, like, listen, I'm not getting this job done. The
mm.
PPC polling has been in the toilet for the last few years. Try to fix it. Like try. It just seems like you're not trying, Max. My
Yeah,
goodness.
I think just Maxime Bernier is a nice person who appeared twice on the Sami Parvez show. Thank you, sir, for appearing. But when it comes to leadership, like you must show more willingness. I I don't know, like someone told me something, but I don't recall that journalist name. But he told me here on the Sami Parvez show, he said Maxime Bernier is not serious. Like he just gave the uh, so or the folks who run for PPC riding or as a candidate, those are particularly just active on X, like just on active on social media. They are not active on the real on their own riding or on real life. Like you should not just doing like being an activist on X but doing nothing on the floor. So you must get active and get on the doors, to knock the doors and tell people what the hell are you doing, like what are your aims, what are your goals. And if you are not serious about it, because like I had a couple of candidates appeared here, they were nice people, but I don't know like why Maxime Bernier did not get the right people, like unlike conservative or liberal or NDP, like they will get the best candidates. Though, like I believe maybe Green Party gets some good candidates too. But for PPC, like you are not getting very enough candidates. But also there is another. I think, did you say or who said to me like, no, like yeah, Brian, the other guy, Brian, who ran BC is a BC conservative candidate. He said that Maxime Bernier was keep criticizing the immigration system, immigration policies to lower the number of immigrants. But now suddenly government changed the number. Now Maxime Bernier is saying to make it zero. He said that why the hell government would do that? So what they did, you must take the credit. Like they did it. They took a step backward. The credit, you should say, the credit goes to me because we are campaigning since we launched our party. I was kicked out from my uh, conservative party because of my thoughts, like I was against of this mass immigration. But he says no. Whatever now the other party say, he always goes their opponent, like if they say we need 100,000, you will say now we need zero. So
Well,
I don't think it makes sense.
and I've just been so I decided to look it up, and it's like if you're upset at the 4% polling, Max, you got 5% of the vote in 2021. Your
Yeah.
polling was at 6%, 11%,
Mm.
10%, 10%, 7%, 6%, and then you just didn't do anything. And look at what happens when you don't do anything. 5%, 3.6%, 2.9%, 2%, 2.1%, 1.7%. It just cratered. You had
Mm-hmm.
you Maxime Bernier a year or an election ago would be like, okay, so you put 4% on there, that's fine. Oh, we're good. We have candidates across Canada and we're polling at 5% average. We're good. But now because of your incompetence, you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wait a second, wait a second, I can't do this anymore. They're trying to silence me. It's rough. And it's like I think it's the eventually you can only complain so much about the cards being stacked against you before
Mm-hmm.
you have to sit down and say, oh, it might be me.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think Maxime Bernier should listen to our conversation and must take some notes and utilize them for its next election campaign, or maybe just get in, like you are not going to just talk about this and that, or I don't know, like, but there were some seats like in conservative would win if those people voted for conservative instead of PPC. Like it seems like PPC made an impact, but no one knows. And Maxim Bernier gave me an example of Nigel Farage, like it took like 8 attempts to get elected, but that was UK. But this is Canada, like people are completely different. Here they will see like we have a two-party system, unlike UK, where there are multiple parties, and most of them have the same chances to get elected, and they have the same coverage. Unlike in Canada, only major parties get highlighted or get covered, but unlike UK, like that is a fully developed nation, and the population is too high, and there are lots of media to cover them, and there it is more easier to get in than in Canada, like they just made the system like to be a two-party system forever.
Well, and to sit down and point out Farage, it's like, okay, well, the Reform Party was at like 7% 4 years ago, and then you see it go up 6%, 8%, and then eventually in 2024, July of 2024, it went from 4%. Now it's at 16% in July. And you see like almost like a hunger from Farage. It's like I don't particularly like his policies. I don't like political parties in general. But
Hmm.
like you see a drive, you see like a hunger from him trying to win. And it's like
Hmm.
I don't think you have that drive with Bernier. I think he's comfortable with it. And I
Hmm.
think that's gonna just bite him in the booty.
Hmm. I think he's AP. Like the party is paying him, like I don't know like how much this guy cost to party. Like from donors. So he's AP. Like what he is doing, he's just living maybe a luxury lifestyle.
And we
Like
don't know.
any other politicians or elected officials. So he does not, just he needs to make some complaint to keep his supporters AP.
I said just he just needs to gun it. He needs to like it's time. Like, you just gotta like get that drive back. Get back to
Hmm.
the Mad Max everyone knows. Get
Hmm.
like get ready to go.
Yeah.
Right now it seems he's quite lackadaisical and he
Hmm.
is fine with mediocrity.
Yeah, the campaign he ran back in 2019, like that was a solid campaign. At the first campaign, he appeared on the leadership debate and he performed very well. But so it takes time to Canadians to realize and analyze and to trust you. but you need the same momentum. It is not like you are just making complaints on the social media. Like we can see like Pierre Poulier is active on social media, but he is also meeting with people, like just ordinary Canadians, like you may need to do the same thing. But I
Yeah.
don't know, like who is the chief of staff to Maxime Bernier, or who is campaign manager. So they need to do better, and maybe he needs to change his team, maybe bring in some competent folks to help him out.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they have the. I said they have like this. There's enough support. Like there's people there. They're still polling at like 2%, 3%. Like there's still people that'll be there. But like you
Mhm.
got to give that alternative. And you're right. Like what your one guest said of like you sit down and say we did this. Like we were always right
Mhm.
about what's been happening
Yeah,
with like migration. And that's how you frame it. And then you say
yeah,
we were so right that the liberals took it, and then you're like haha, and then you sort of parade a little bit, and people, you try to get people to go, wow, you were right, instead of going to like the insane button of like no immigration, which is
yeah,
like, oh, that's, you can't do that anymore. That doesn't, that you can't, this isn't the 1500s, max.
yeah,
Like we can't do mercantilism anymore. We
yeah,
can't sit down and say like, oh, we're gonna, yeah, no, it's impossible. It's a globalized world. You can't just stop it. But
yeah.
like, yeah, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Yeah, because there are many jobs, and Canada needs those immigration, like particularly in construction, in truck industry, and in the agriculture,
It's
and
anything.
sometimes.
If you're like a doctor, it's like, oh, well, no, we're not going to bring you in. Like, what are you talking about? It's like
Yeah.
any a specialized migrant. No, no, we're getting rid of it all. No, it's silly,
Yeah,
silly.
Maxim now wants this. I don't know, like what he will do. I try to I texted him, like I think once. I maybe try to again, but he's not going to appear here again. I don't know like what went wrong, but the first instruction was great, but the second time I don't know like what happened. But he's not appearing. But now he's popular on the other YouTube channel. Like he's giving lots of interviews. I think I popular what I made him famous, like people got the attention, like we need to interview Maxim Bernier, because there are better podcaster and YouTubers
It's
or
okay.
other independent journalists way more audience than myself, so he got what he needs.
That's all right though. You were the springboard. You're that's you can put that on your description. The springboard for politicians.
Springboard. Okay, yeah. So what else we have to talk? Like yeah, like let's talk about Alberta. Like Alberta distanced itself from the statement which was signed by other except Daniel Simmet. Do you think it was the right decision?
There's like, it's ballsy, and I can kind of, I think that it's a tough look for the rest of Canada. And I know what Smith is trying to do. She's trying to sit down and say, I am the fighter for Albertan jobs.
Hmm.
One of the problems is I could I can see some of the logic behind it. The issue, and I think she would have more of a foot to stand on if Alberta's exports to the United States was
Hmm.
clearly different than everybody else in Canada. So if you look at the chart, Alberta's exports about 34%, so about a third of our GDP goes to the, or it's like exported to the United States. So if we were to do a tariff on our stuff, that
Hmm.
could affect a third of Alberta's economy,
Yep.
which is a lot, to
Hmm.
say the least. 30%, which is crazy. The problem is though, is that other provinces, there's still other provinces that put up similar exports to the United States. So New Brunswick, 34%, I think it's 33% of its GDP is exports to the United States. And New Brunswick signed on. And so it's like, and Saskatchewan signed on, and I think it's like 28%. So it's not like a gigantic difference between Alberta and these other folks that signed on. I could see Smith having a bit of a point if she was at if Alberta was at like 35% and all the provinces were at like 6%, because Alberta would take this gigantic kick to the groin and
Mm-hmm.
suffer while these other provinces don't have to worry about it. But the thing is that all these other provinces that put up 28%, 33% signed on. And so it comes off looking really bad. Those provinces know they're going to get, you know, a kick to the groin. And it's going to hurt them more than, say, Nova Scotia. I think
Yeah.
Nova Scotia is like 7% of their GDP is attached to the United States. Very little. But like New Brunswick is well aware that it's gonna hurt, but there's a bigger message involved. And I think that kind of bounces back a little bit, and it doesn't it makes what she's trying to stand for a little bit more shaky.
Mm-hmm.
Is it a mistake? I know a lot of Albertans out here that are like, we get screwed over by the country all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's tough. It's a tough look just because of those other provinces that also are going to suffer and are going to struggle. And they're doing it under this united band. And so it does come off bad. Saskatchewan even did it, Sammy. Saskatchewan, Scott Moe signed it. And they
Yep.
have like potash. There's a whole bunch of things that they trade down to the United States. And they're like, ooh, not gonna be good, but like they're sort of standing in this united vision, and they've been screwed over. So it's like it's tough. It's a tough call. Of course, it'll play well to some Albertans, but I'm curious to see about those Albertans though that do like Canada, because if you look at all the polls, right? You look at all the polls across Canada. Do you want to join the United States? And it's 90%. And Alberta, we're in the 70% want to stay in Canada, 78%. But like that's going to tick off those 30% of conservatives that like Canada. And
Mm-hmm.
is it going to play off well? It's tough. It's a tough balancing act. I don't envy Danielle Smith. Let me say that, Sammy. I don't envy her position. I don't think she has the political skill to do it, to kind of do the balancing act. Um,
Mm-hmm.
when she was Wild Rose leader, she tore into Allison Redford because Allison Redford used taxpayer money to go to Nelson Mandela's funeral. And now we have Danielle Smith going to Donald Trump's inauguration on Monday. And then you stop and you go, isn't that a bit hypocritical that how much taxpayer money are you spending? And it's very tough to gauge it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
particularly a guy that is saying full on he's going to make the external revenue service. It's a tough balancing act. And I don't think she has the acumen because she got screwed. She screwed over the Wild Rose Party in Alberta when she floor crossed. And now
Yeah.
she's trying to do this balancing act. I think that you could have somebody that's politically intelligent, like a Peter Lougheed or somebody like that from a while back that could possibly make this look good. But she's kind of bad at this. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think she has the ability to make it out of it without a few scratches. I think I'll just say that. So is it a smart move to not sign it? What are my thoughts on it? I think if you're not going to sign it, you better know what you're doing, and
Mm-hmm.
you better have a plan in place. And you better not just be doing this because somebody in your insider said, don't do it. It'll look good for the polls.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that there's a substantial chunk of conservatives that do like Canada. They're mad at what Trudeau has done, and they're excited about what Pierre Poilievre will do. And then
Mm-hmm.
when you sit down and you betray that, it's tough. It's going to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I don't think I think she probably it might have played off better if she signed it. Um, given that I don't think she has the political acumen to make it out okay.
Yeah, it seems like she played politics, like with this move just to make some conservatives AP, as you said, like to get a bump on the polls, and it will be highlighted, and maybe little bit make Trump AP, like is she met with Trump at Mar-a-Lago, and she is going for the inauguration on that taxpayer dime, as you said, like she criticized it at that time, like wild rose leader, but now she's using every single taxpayer money to uh, just to have a luxurious life, what I always describe, where whatever they are doing, I don't think they are doing it for the people, they are doing it for the themselves, to get an attention, or like to get highlighted on the media.
Yeah. And I think you can just you can it's I think you can use online to talk if you want to talk with like like it's like I can maybe understand one trip, but now she's saying she's going to go down a whole bunch of times and you're like this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous, Sammy. Yeah, it's I just think it's playing off. It's going to play off bad unless she really pulls something together, but it seems like when she met Donald Trump, he's gone even more into that external revenue service. Like it's like she met him and then he's just like, we definitely don't want any of this Canada nonsense. And you're like it's just I don't know. Unless she has like an ace up her sleeve, it's not optimal.
Mhm. What do you think? Like someone told me, like he's an international, not international student, but he's from India, but he's here in Canada. He told me that the move behind Trudeau resignation was forced by Trump, but Trump was told by Moody. Do you think is there any connection with Moody and Trump? Like it mean Trudeau was very critic, or very critic of India, like in
Yeah.
terms of supporting this Khalistani movement. But Moody and Trump are very close friend, I believe. Like Trump visited India back then. I think a couple of times Trump was there. Like during Modi leadership, but he is still, maybe he will visit again. So, do you think would there be any connection with it, or
I don't know. I'd have to look into it a bit more. Like I might it is an interesting theory.
Mhm.
It does, but I'd have to. I can't confirm it. Like I'd have to.
No?
I don't
Like
know
you
enough
should
on it.
not confirm it, but as a Canadian, do you think it could happen, or what? So why Trudeau stepped down? Was it inside revolt, or was it pressurized from Trump? Like Trump was continuously mocking him.
I don't know. Like I wonder.
Yeah, because Trudeau never thought to step away. Was the like Chrystia Freeland departure forced him to just get out? Like there were some sources who were suggesting that Trudeau wanted to step down on that day, but he was asked to remain. So I don't know. Like that theory could be false, the one which I shared. If we take that one.
Yeah, I'd have to like spend a bit more time because it is a different angle on it. Um, I don't. I think Trudeau I don't think he was stepping down because of like I think it was just all the internal factors. Like they were going to be doing like a MP meeting, and I think
Hmm.
there was just so much pressure. It was similar when Mackenzie Bowles stepped down back in like the early parts of Canada. Like it
Hmm.
was just all of his ministers were resigning, and they were like, we don't want to have anything to do with you. And the internal pressure, he was just like, that fine, I'll leave. And so I think I think that's more than likely the case of it. I'm a pretty big believer in Occam's razor, Sammy. I think what's probably most obvious is true. And I think Trudeau was going to try to make it through and hope that like Christmas, people would mellow out, but nobody was mellowing out. And then he said, okay, I'll just step down. I think that's more than likely what took place.
But
Um,
do you think Trudeau would have a great legacy?
You know, absence makes the heart grow fonder, Sammy. I think it'll be like Pierre Elliott Trudeau,
Hmm.
in a way, probably worse. It'll be worse than Pierre Elliott Trudeau, of course. But when you talk to some Albertans about Pierre Elliott Trudeau, they think he was the worst prime minister of all time. And then you talk to a lot of other Canadians, and they're like, he was one of the best of all times.
Hmm.
I think people will look back at Justin Trudeau as a guy with a lot of good ideas.
Hmm.
Some of them happened, a lot of them didn't. And depending how the next few years go with all of these work visas, the
Hmm.
millions of folks that are here whose work visas are going to be expiring, if it all goes out, I think people will look back fondly on Trudeau in a way of like he was all right for the first little bit, and then he kind of sucked. It'll be kind of like Harper. I think people will sort of have a look like that. Though, if you ask Albertans, they'll say he's the worst prime minister of all time. Second worst was Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of what it'll end up being.
But what were Canadians sick of to Harper back in 2015, like they are sick of Trudeau at this time?
Yeah.
Did
And I think people are looking back on Harper like, oh, he was fine. Like, I think that's what it'll be
but
eventually.
at that time, what you felt like it? I know, like you remember, like back in
Well,
2015.
I was talking with a coworker of mine, and he talked about how he voted for Liberals because he was tired of Harper. And this is in Grand
Mhm.
Prairie, Alberta. And he said, like, I was just tired of Harper. I didn't like him anymore. And that was, and I think that's where it was at. And then if you look at polls or like the election polls, of course, the Conservatives still had an easy win up here, but I think the Liberals were second up here versus so and there was a little bit of that Trudeau momentum and just Harper tiredness. But now people look back at Harper and they were like, he's fine. Like he was okay. I didn't particularly enjoy him reneging on a lot of our the rights of stuff, for security reasons, but he was okay. Like the economy was fine. I think people will look at Trudeau, they'll sit down and be like, that really sucked about what happened with COVID with him. But like 2015 was pretty good. Like I think that's what it's going to be. And then you ask some people, they'll say he's the worst ever. Um and but I think in 20 years, seeing what happens with sort of those people on visas, if a lot of them the visas end and they go and there's not a lot of controversy, I think
Mhm.
people will be pretty okay with that. If you start to have protests of those visa holders saying we're not leaving, I
Mhm.
think that starts to look a little bit worse for them in the long run. If there's effects of that gigantic migration push
Mhm.
for Canada's infrastructure that can't handle it, and we're
Mhm.
still feeling that 10 years from now, I could see people thinking Trudeau's terrible or not good. But if things balance out a bit, I don't know. I don't
Mhm.
know.
Yeah, as you are talking about visa, like expiration. Even though one of another international student told me that like he criticized Trudeau. He said that Trudeau resigned cowardly. Like he called him coward. Like now he says that he's blaming us to international students that we exploit. He said
Yeah.
you let us in. Like he said is his family took $50,000 a debt to get me in here. And like people spent their saving everything just to get here because you dreamed them. Like those agents told them so you can get PR or this and that by spending. So now they are. He said if they were given their taxes, whatever they spent on their studies, they will go back India voluntarily. He said they will pay their own plane ticket. That's it. Just pay whatever they paid. They will leave voluntarily.
Oh, I don't think that's gonna happen, Sam.
Fun.
Uh-oh.
Yeah,
So,
I told them that you are very welcome on the Sami Parvez show. Like we may talk. Like I'm looking those folks like
yeah.
particularly international students. I spoke with multiple of them. Like I have some colleagues. Whenever get a chance to speak. with this current job or the farmer job. We always chat about these things when get a time. Yeah, so maybe we have someone like to discuss, but that was a message to Justin Trudeau. Pay them back, they will leave.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Hmm.
Um, okay, Sammy, I'm gonna have to go. We've been talking for almost an hour, like for quite a
Oh.
while, but I'm gonna have to get. I have to get go. I have stuff to do. But
Mhm.
Sammy, it was time flew by again. It always flies by. Time flies by.
Thank
Having
you,
fun.
sir. Thank you very much. Yeah, I know, like, it is always a pleasure to talk with you. I know, like, you are a busy man, but yeah, like, I'm wondering when can we like make a perfect time, or we can just choose a like random time whenever we are free, just to
I
make it happen.
I have a feeling the random time's going to be the way to go just because, well, like I'm doing a lot of musicals. I'm like things are going to get pretty busy for me on the weekend, so I will do my best, Sammy, but I'm going to be all over the place.
Yeah, good. And the yeah, okay. Let's leave it here. And it was a great discussion. I wasn't expecting it would go too long because you already said that you have a like time limit for discussion.
Ah,
Maybe yeah, maybe we will see you next week to have another
okay.
discussion. At that time, the leadership race candidates would be confirmed, so it would be more interesting.
Yeah, I think that'll be fine. And who knows, I'll be on it.
Yeah, so Donovan is running for this leadership race, and if you want to, yes, go fund me, and you can reach him on X like Donovan Ekstrom, as his name is written, and I will share the his links will be in the description. But I think YouTube does not allow GoFundMe
That's
a
okay.
link on YouTube on its website. Like I can put in, but I will share whatever others are. I always share whoever appear. Yeah, so please see you next week, and until then, you take care. And the viewers, please don't forget to subscribe to the Sami Parvez show. So we are just very close. Like we hit 1,000 subscribers. Yesterday I checked, there were 1,020 subscribers. Thank you to each and
Nice.
everyone who subscribed it. And also we are just short of 420 hours to monetize our channel. We are very close, so please keep watching and sharing. We are just an inch close. Like we ate like 3,500 580 hours. So it has been a long journey, but now we are coming too close to it this
Very exciting.
milestone. Maybe we can do it within a month, maybe.
I have a feeling, Sammy, we're gonna keep on trucking. Let's do it.
Mhm. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Take
thank
care,
you,
my
sir.
friend.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening and good weekend, and